What if I told you that King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, left us 7 decision-making secrets that could transform your life? I've used these principles to make million-dollar business decisions, choose my life partner, and navigate every major crossroads. By the end of this video, you'll never second-guess yourself again. I'm here to share something that changed everything for me. After studying the book of Proverbs for years, I've discovered that these 7 verses contain the complete blueprint for making wise decisions. Whether you're choosing a career, making a major purchase, or deciding on a relationship, these ancient principles are more relevant today than ever. Let's dive into the first proverb that will revolutionize how you think about decisions. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." Now, this isn't about being afraid of God. It's about having such deep respect and reverence for Him that you want to honor Him with every choice you make. Think about it this way. Before you make any decision, ask yourself one simple question. What would honor God in this situation? I started doing this 3 years ago when I was considering a business partnership. Instead of just looking at the profit potential, I asked whether this partnership aligned with biblical principles. That simple question saved me from what would have been a disastrous relationship with someone who had completely different values. Here's your practical application. Before any major decision, take 30 seconds and ask God what would bring Him glory. That's proverb number 1. But wait until you hear how proverb number 2 builds on this foundation. Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. This is probably the most quoted verse about decision-making in the entire Bible, and for good reason. It's telling us that our logic and analysis, while important, aren't enough. We need divine wisdom too. Last year, I had to decide whether to take a job that looked perfect on paper. Great salary, amazing benefits, prestigious company. But every time I prayed about it, I felt uneasy. My spreadsheet said yes, but my spirit said no. I turned it down, and 3 months later, I found out that company was involved in a major scandal that would have destroyed my reputation. Here's what I do now. I write down all my logical analysis, then I pray about it and pay attention to that inner peace or lack of it. Don't just rely on your mind. Include your spirit in the process. That brings us to proverb number 3, and this one might surprise you. Proverbs 15, verse 22. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. One of the biggest mistakes we make is thinking we have to figure everything out alone. Solomon is telling us that isolation leads to bad decisions. I learned this the hard way when I bought my first house. I was so excited that I rushed through the process without getting proper advice. I skipped the thorough inspection, didn't research the neighborhood properly, and ended up with a money pit that had foundation problems. If I had just asked a few experienced friends for guidance, I would have avoided years of stress and thousands in repairs. Here's your action step. Create a wisdom council. Identify 3 to 5 people you trust who have experience in different areas of life. Before making major decisions, run them past your counsel. Get their input, their questions, their concerns. Remember, the goal isn't to let them decide for you, but to benefit from their perspective and experience. Proverb number 4 is where things get really practical. Proverbs 16, verse 3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. This verse changed how I approach planning entirely. Instead of making plans and then asking God to bless them, I learned to dedicate my planning process to God from the very beginning. When I was starting my business, instead of just diving into market research and business plans, I started with prayer. I asked God to guide every step of the process, from choosing the business model to selecting team members. The difference was incredible. Doors opened that I never expected. Connections formed naturally, and obstacles that seemed impossible suddenly had solutions. Here's the practical application. At the beginning of any planning session, whether it's for a career change, a major purchase, or even planning your week, start with a prayer of commitment. Tell God you want His will more than your own success. Now we're getting to proverb number 5, and this one will protect you from costly mistakes. Proverbs 14, verse 15. The simple believe anything, but the prudent give thought to their steps. In our age of information overload, this wisdom is more crucial than ever. We're bombarded with advice, advertisements, and opinions every single day. The simple person just believes whatever sounds good or whatever they want to hear. But the prudent person, the wise person, takes time to think things through. I almost made a terrible investment decision 2 years ago. A friend pitched me on what seemed like an amazing opportunity. Great returns, minimal risk, everyone was getting in on it. It sounded too good to be true, but I wanted to believe it. Thankfully, I remembered this proverb and decided to sleep on it. I spent the next day researching the company, checking references, and asking hard questions. Turns out it was a sophisticated scam that cost other investors millions. Here's your protection strategy. Implement a 24-hour rule for any significant decision. No matter how urgent it seems, no matter how limited the offer, take at least a day to think, pray, and research. Pressure tactics are usually red flags. Proverb number 6 brings us back to the bigger picture. Proverbs 19, verse 21. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. This verse keeps me humble and flexible. I used to get so attached to my plans that when things didn't go exactly as I expected, I'd get frustrated and force solutions that weren't working. This proverb taught me to hold my plans lightly. Make good plans, work hard, but stay open to God redirecting your path. 3 years ago, I had detailed plans to expand my business into a specific market. I'd done the research, allocated the budget, hired the team, but door after door kept closing. Instead of forcing it, I stepped back and asked God if He had a different direction for me. Within weeks, an opportunity opened up in a completely different area that turned out to be far more profitable and fulfilling than my original plan. Here's the question that will change your perspective. Am I fighting God's will or flowing with it? When you feel like you're pushing a rope, it might be time to consider a different direction. And that brings us to our final proverb, number 7. Proverbs 27, verse 17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. This isn't just about getting advice. It's about surrounding yourself with people who will challenge you, question your assumptions, and help you grow. The best decisions come when we're around people who aren't afraid to disagree with us respectfully. I have a friend who always plays devil's advocate when I share ideas with him. At first, it was annoying. I wanted support, not criticism. But over time, I realized his questions were making my ideas stronger. He helped me see blind spots I never would have noticed on my own. Some of my best business decisions came after he poked holes in my initial thinking and forced me to develop better solutions. Here's your challenge. Seek out people who will disagree with you respectfully. Don't surround yourself only with yes people. Find mentors, peers, and even subordinates who will ask tough questions and offer different perspectives. These 7 proverbs have guided kings, entrepreneurs, and millions of believers for thousands of years. They've helped me make better decisions in business, relationships, finances, and every area of life. But here's the thing. Knowing these principles isn't enough. You have to apply them. So here's my challenge for you. Think of a decision you're facing right now. It could be big or small. Choose just one of these 7 principles and apply it to that situation. Maybe you need to seek more counsel. Maybe you need to commit your plans to God. Maybe you need to slow down and give more thought to your steps. The wisdom is here. The question is, will you use it? These aren't just ancient words on a page. They're practical tools that work in the real world right now for the decisions you're facing today. If this helped you, let me know in the comments which proverb hit you the most. And if you found value in this biblical approach to decision making, make sure to subscribe because I share practical wisdom like this every week. Remember, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, but applying that wisdom is where transformation happens.